second place versus second place. Bilibili Gaming versus former teammate Flawless. And now we're going to Game 3 against Rogue Warriors. Who is going to take the series and walk home with the big W? This is a big stepping stone for these teams. You know, they've both come in. They've both grown and shown us so much. Now it's the chance for us to say, do they actually deserve to be at the upper echelon, to be at the top of the standings?
Yeah, bit of a surprise for both teams that they were able to net themselves second place, both East and West. So for BLG, constant naysayers coming in. Seems like the anime squad keep coming up.
They do.
Once after another, after another. So Game 2, proper response from them. Rusty was right on the desk. The fact that they're able to, sure, even it up 1-1. But that's the second game in a row where they had a significant early game lead. And if you were trying to find a pattern here, Rogue Warriors don't want to find themselves in that kind of deficit again. Because going into this set, it was all about Flawless finding them early leads, because otherwise in the earlier part of the season, it just wasn't happening, and they were finding losses. This could be another loss if they can't find a solution to that.
They've got the late game insurance from SMLZ. They've got the mid game insurance from Mouse and Doinby, but they need to look at that early game. They need to get something to bridge them through this gap, especially against the likes of a very early game focused BLG.
Yep, and so Skarner kind of didn't work for Flawless in Game 1, even though they won. Going into Game 2, picks up the Zac. Doesn't work again. The game is kind of spiraling time and time again. Going into Game 3, I understand he's not going to get Lee Sin and Jarvan. I want to see him on Kha'Zix. I want to see him on the Nidalee pick before. I just want to see something that he can constantly push into SKS. So it isn't SKS and Athena roaming to the bot side for free time and time again.
Yeah, we've seen how SKS just enables BLG to make presence happen bottom, to push in their waves mid and top, pretty much everywhere across the map. And his vision priority around keeping Athena safe, allowing Athena to sort of roam halfway top, halfway bottom. You never really know what BLG is intending to do until suddenly there are 5 people in your lane and you're going, what the heck? I just want minions.
Yeah, please. Let me farm. I can farm well. My name is SLMLZ. I just need space and time to do that.
Yeah.
It wasn't happening. So this time around, that's why they just need that early game space. And that's why I've been poking on Flawless to do just that. Beginning of show, we were hitting on his Lee Sin stats. He was having just as good a stats when it came to down to the Jarvan, Kha'Zix, Nidalee. I'm still kind of ranting and raving about these early game champions. Can even go to the Rec side, which is an LPL exclusive. Not a lot of regions other than, of course, Beyond an MVP is playing the champion. We're having incredibly short games in the LPL, and the power spike of Rek'Sai works very well just for that. Being able to build Warriors, Black Cleaver, GA, already moving along with the team, that's a possibility, and I would like to see that coming through from Rogue Warriors.
We'll be looking at Mouse versus Amazing J a lot during the series, but still, those junglers are so important to the early game because of how they impact their lanes. You can see Athena and Doinby just on your screen again. Jin Zhao and SMLZ, the two of them stepping up huge in this series so far. Very comfortable with late game carries for SMLZ. Jin Zhao also stepping into his own with the likes of that Sivir in that game too. Yeah,
it's becoming a bottom side focus series entirely. Kind of expected it to be the Amazing J show. Maybe BLG wants to play through top side, and of course, Rogue Warriors want to try and play through bottom side. I expected some trading sides to happen in this series. It seems like they're strictly playing through bottom lane. In Game 2, it hurt Mouse because he had a good matchup. He was doing quite well for himself, but that one TP play, that double TP play they had to force because they were losing bot so heavily, really put him behind. And Amazing J gets the MVP just because he had that free ticket into team fights.
Yeah, certainly showing that strength. Of course, we did mention we saw that the two of them were sitting down before the series, just having some friendly banter because they are friends. They are old teammates from the legacy organization of EDG. But now we're into Game 3. All of that friendliness, all of that respect that you had for your opponents is put to the side because at this point, it's all about the win to close out this series and prove that your conference is better, that you are better. Now we've got Azir, Zoe, and Camille taken away. A lot of respect to Athena and Amazing J. Still, that Kog'Maw and Lee Sin banned away from Flawless and SMLZ. Do they follow it up with another Jarvan? They do indeed.
There you go. If you're Rogue Warriors, maybe you go to the Skarner, maybe you go to the Kha'Zix. The Caitlyn was banned earlier on. This time around, it seems like SMLZ is going to pick that up for himself.
Very early pick. And Rogue Warriors on red side in Game 1 and 2 banned away the Caitlyn in both of those games. Now they find themselves on blue side, and they immediately first pick it.
And a small kind of hurts my soul a little bit. Rogue Warriors, of course, red side in the last game. Losing that last game means that they are no longer undefeated on red side. The strength that they had so heavily going towards these counter picks bit them since they didn't have any pushing priority in the counter picks. So this time around, finding proper counter picks that have the priority of either trading in lane and pushing to back BLG off of them in the early game needs to be priority.
Well, now we've got the likes of Gangplank and Skarner again for BLG. Once again, Amazing J looking to take that top, and SKS returning to his crystal spires all over the map. But here's the change-up. Vladimir locked in for Mouse to attempt to answer the Gnar. Not quite doing it for him in game 2.
Yeah. All the time, kind of present the idea that it could be a Vladimir mid lane as well, but really knowing that he's going up against a GP, it's a great matchup. And you don't want to find yourself in a position where Athena is able to pick up mid lane Orianna and you're just in a bad matchup. So right now, already, Rogue Warriors are giving Mouse a good matchup so he can bully once again while having a strong bottom lane duo, of course, of Braum and Caitlyn.
Rogue Warriors prioritizing those side lanes. Mouse in the top, and then SMLZ and Kahlua in the bottom for that early phase. They're going to let their jungle fall to the wayside here. And, of course, that mid lane for Doinby with BLG holding on to counterpick. Last champion now locked in for Jin Zhao of this phase of the ban picks is going to be Sivir, returning towards that huge wave clear, that huge carry.
If it worked last time, it seems like BLG recognized, hey, why not try it again? That's the biggest question. Looks like they want to find themselves having constant push in the bottom side of the map, which is why I think Rogue Warriors should try and pincer, try and take away some of the mage picks and support. Janna is one of them. I don't want Janna being picked up here. BLG immediately banned away, thank God. Because the last thing you want to have is Braum finding so much difficulty in any trades, and of course, Sivir finding a free ability to push waves.
Now that Lulu being banned away, that's not for Kahlua. We know the Braum is going bottom. That's for Doinby. Loves to play himself some supportive mid laners, but now this Malzahar that was banned in game 2 is going to get through as Rogue Warriors look to ban one final support, perhaps away from BLG. Ooh, the Rise ban away from Athena.
I would assume BLG would want themselves a Tahm Kench instead. If they don't get the mage supports, which are getting heavily banned out, then why not go towards a tank support that does quite well into the Braum pickup?
Now this would be interesting. I'm sure Jin Zhao is just trying to give us a Rise, just sort of baiting that out. Not Rise the champion, but, you know, the turn of phrase.
Yep.
But Tarek still open. Tahm Kench still open for Road. You mentioned the potential for that. And as the timer runs out, looks like he's going to be taking the dazzling bottom lane.
All right, there we have it. Of course, Tarek can end up just healing up the Sivir within the lane. Can be a Soraka, I could say, I guess. Just basically becoming that utility support on the bottom side of the map. This has very strong team fighting tools BLG does in the bottom side of the map. Having the Sivir for, of course, the speed boost and the Tarek ultimate, having to deal with the Vladimir in the later portions of the game. So Rogue Warriors have to think about how to play these later portions of the game, these team fights, if the Tarek ultimate comes down.
And look at that. The Kazakhs you were talking about for Flawless, something with some big early game impact. And you know what? If Doinby can't walk out of lane because Athena's always got lane control, well, he'll leap out of lane with the hero's entrance. Galio locked in for Doinby in the mid lane. Now, Athena gets counterpicked, but that is a strong combination in skirmishes.
And that definitely changed the thought process BLG have going into this, recognizing that Rogue Warriors are so heavily emphasizing jungle, skirmish, and of course the ability to have Galio back him up, constant roaming. They move towards the Talia. So I love this game 3 already because both teams have to think about this on the fly. Rogue Warriors are saying, all right, we're tired of this. 2 games in a row where we can't move out of mid lane and Flawless is just handcuffed. So they free him. But now Athena's like, all right, hopefully I can get push priority in this lane. It works quite well for the Talia. And maybe if it turns into Kazakhs jumping onto Skarner, Galio looking behind him, Talia could come in and help just because she has her wall, her ulti, just to come out a little earlier.
Yeah, I mean, it still fits the same playstyle that we saw from BLG in Game 2. They can very easily just pick up and roam to another lane. Why look for the jungle skirmish when you can just 5-man stack bottom?
Yep. Bottom lane is the key word here. You said it already. It's going to be bottom lane. You have the Sivir to push, and you have the Tarek to throw down the ultimate. So if we were worrying about the execution in the prior games, of course, doing quite well just because they had stopwatch. You don't even need stopwatch if you have Tarek ulti. So level 6, bottom lane seems like the place to be.
Are we going to be seeing some skirmishes perhaps before that level 6 mark, just because the ultimates are so important in making that happen?
Yeah, I would say just if any skirmishes are going to happen, it's not towards the bottom side of the map. There should be just passively farming to get to that 6 point. There's no real need for Sivir and Tarek to find anything unless if they find a playmaking stun, double stun. If that happens, then sure, go for it. Flash in, look for a kill.
Yeah.
But it's going to be on Rogue Warriors to utilize the Kazakhs earlier on, get inside information onto Skarner, and then maybe look for a skirmish. That's the early game pre-6 skirmish point that I look towards here.
It still seems like BLG are sticking to their guns, sticking to their strategy, allow Flawless to try to get themselves through the early game, use Doinby on that support mid laner to get them through the mid game, and then rely on SMLZ to hard carry once it gets to the late game. But this time, Mouse taking that Vladimir is going to be right alongside SMLZ putting out that damage. So BLG will have to try to preempt this as they get into their final game of the day. The crowd cheers it on, Rogue Warriors. Just a bit louder this time, but still BLG absolutely representing in the crowd. We do see just a bit of damage finding Doinby. Athena happy to trade it off as Killua looks to get a very early ward on the blue buff.
Yeah, early level 1 invades seem to be the name of the game when you go up against Skarner. So it makes sense. Get the priority on these shrines. Great thing about these are just, of course, it slows down the pacing of SKS. If he's going into his own jungle, then he has to kind of just take it first before he goes to his camp. It slows him down just a little bit. Wow, that's a lot of spellbooks.
That is indeed 6 unsealed spellbooks. And finally, we can see SKS hopping over the wall. Again, bottom side start from the 2. We've seen so many different variations on Skarner pathing. BLG, are they going to try to emphasize vision? Or sorry, Rogue Warriors, are they going to try to emphasize vision onto SKS to continue to monitor this pathing and give an opportunity for Flawless to try to make something happen?
Yeah, specifically on the pathing, they already have the good information that he's starting on blue, which means that most Skarners, once they take that, go to Wolf Camp, Raptors, Red, go towards the Scuttle Crab. Even if he just goes to an early level 3, you already know that Skarner's going to be on the top side, and he might look towards taking the Scuttle Crab. So it's going to be in the best interest of Flawless to be level 3, get those 3 camps start, and immediately be on the field. Look for Scuttle Crab. If you don't find them there, look for Raptors. Just get as much information as possible.
And you can see a lot of pings actually coming out of BLG as they're heading into the river. Athena steps very far out to get a ward and even goes so far as to take the Crystal Spire. Red buff is going to be taken by SKS at about the same time as the blue of Flawless. But we could be seeing a potential skirmish over this Scuttle Crab.
It might be harder now that I've kind of set the stage for Rogue Warriors to do just that. Just because Athena's already showing a propensity to kind of roam towards the top side, already placing that early trinket top side just to see if there's anyone doing the Scuttle Crab. So sure, Skarner might not be able to fight the Kazakhs, but Talia will get there first. So 2v2 starts to way towards BLG just because Athena can push, has the early cleanse, so even the CC that Doinby presents will not last. It will not stick.
Yeah, this is exactly what we were talking about in the last game, how SKS enables the lanes as, wow, Flawless just leaps onto Athena. That is a faith leap, absolutely winning that trade. Even cleanse being used by Athena.
That hurts.
I think he thought he had heal.
And
then surprise.
He just wanted to get out of that slow, which is going to be impactful.
Yeah.
So that really does hurt. Good information from Doinby. Of course, they knew that Talia was going to way towards bottom side to get the ward across, gets the ward across. But guess what? Bad timing. Flawless is already there and chunks you out. Thankfully, Athena doesn't have to blow the flash, but losing cleanse that early, the strength I talked about earlier, I completely strike that out.
Okay. Yes, I mean, I was just trying to laud BLG for playing around SKS, but also SKS playing around his laners. And following up with the setup, good 90 caliber net to escape the dazzle from Road. You can see SKS was thinking about a gank. There isn't a ward in the river, but with Road at such low health, it's pretty scary as SKS is actually now going to walk in with red buff. Recall was just completed from Flawless. Dazzle not quite on activatable yet. Kahlua stalls it out. That's the stun. They managed to stack the CC, and Flash is burned by Killua.
There we go. It was important to have Skarner use his first CC, just because if Road had used it, then you get an immediate flash. But because of this, they had the possibility of getting a kill onto Killua. They couldn't. They didn't have enough damage. But they just kind of forced Killua to say, hey, you have to respect Skarner's stun. If you don't, then you just die.
Double unsealed spellbook bottom lane allows SMLZ to get right back in. Not even able to push the wave.
Yeah, so this was the biggest worry that I had, of course, if you're BLG going up against 4 spellbooks, is that bottom lane will use their spellbooks just for the laning phase. Their laning phase present, of course, having the TP constantly if they lose a trade, which was in that instance, to get TP on there so they don't lose the tower. Or if they're winning the trade, if they're ahead in tempo, then they can use their TP just to be able to net themselves the tower faster. So that's for laning phase presence. We already talked about the early game working so well for BLG. This time Rogue Warriors are saying, all right, we're going to match you, but with TP on just about everybody.
Big, scary team fight could be an option for Rogue Warriors if they stack up. 4-man teleport into a lane. Heck, make it 5. Get Flawless in there as well. He's going to be the one who starts the team fight. But for now, we still just have the laning phase. Everyone just catching these minions. Cull Longsword picked up by Jin Zhao to heal himself up and focus on transitioning toward that late game as quick as he can. SMLZ opts for the pickaxe instead. Teleport used by Mouse to get himself back up top to match the earlier teleport from Amazing J. So all in all, not too much excitement in this early game.
Yep, so it's just down to BLG, how they're able to utilize their mid lane pressure, because we talked about how it's starting to slow down, and of course the pickaxe means there's just more damage on the side of SMLZ and Killua. They should be able to have pressure in this lane just based off of that. So Jin Zhao, he's going to have to try and farm up and force SMLZ at the very least away from the turret so they don't find themselves losing damage on tower. That was the problem last time around for Rogue Warriors. Now it might be a problem this time around for BLG. So as long as their towers are kept safe, and as long as the wards are being kept to protect SKS within his own jungle, then they'll be just fine.
Big scare, though, is with SMLZ pushing up the wave this much and Flawless actually moving around the map now that he's level 6.
Ooh.
That becomes a lot more difficult, as the Crystal Spire was just picked up by SKS. He's still only level 5.
Yeah, Flawless is seen in doing this. They know that Flawless is looking for an invade here, so the rest of BLG are going to look to try and match this somehow.
Yeah, you can see the collapse as everyone's grouping in from the bottom. No teleport available for these top laners. Road from behind, but there are 4 members of Rogue Warriors stacked up. They get a slow onto Road. Jin Zhao tries to harass, matches the damage of SMLZ. Dazzle pins him to the wall, but there's no follow-up. Flash from SKS as he tries to pursue, but Flawless with the sidestep just walks right back out.
That is hilarious. Gives SKS the slip somehow. Just utilizing his ulti, just so they thought, you know, maybe he's gone through the bush. No. He's actually gone the opposite direction, right past your Galio. So the one pick that the Skarner thought he had, even used his flash to get it, got outplayed.
That being said, that's Flawless initiating this early game. This is what we've been wanting to see all series. He wasn't quite able to make anything happen. No kills. The buff does go to SKS instead of the Taliyah. But he is trying his very hardest. SKS looking to contest these Raptors right here. Steps forward. Doinby is right behind them. No interaction from the bottom laners just yet. Doinby forced away by Athena. Smite used by SKS. I believe he was the one who secured the large Raptor.
It's interesting to see that even though, of course, the pick was given, Kha'Zix was given to Flawless for the early game, it seems like BLG is coordinated enough, well coordinated enough to be able to kind of push him along even still, just because of Athena's Taliyah pick. So really strong use of the Taliyah. The only worry now is that they won't be able to properly push the Galio out of turret, out of lane. He's matching up Taliyah and CS, so there's always still a possibility that he can be able to leave the lane now that he, of course, now going to be able to get blue buff for himself and impact side lane fights. Only one fight is necessary for Rogue Warriors with the Galio to find themselves the ability to push this lead along, the one that they have in the bottom side of the map.
And despite the fact that they were looking for it, they couldn't quite find it just yet. BLG with a very strong defensive line on the bottom half. Trying to keep things nice and slow. Killua
Real?
do not...
You kidding? What kind of joke is this?
Walks up and ults
You can't stop this.
Clear the way. Well, it turns out he can. All right. You can see from the tilt in Jin Zhao's head, he's thinking, all right.
All right. That's lane priority to a whole new level.
Is that really necessary? Even the teleport from SMLZ, I mean, anything you can do to try to get damage on the turret, right? The next wave is already crashing in.
Yep, I mean, he's TP'd back into lane as well, SMLZ has. So what this means is that BF sword, pickaxe that he had earlier on, and a dagger going up against a Cull. So, yeah, Sivir needed to base, ends up doing so. So they have Athena cover the lane because they didn't want to lose the tower HP.
They will be sacrificing some damage on that mid-tier one. Luckily, it's only a Galio with Catalyst and Negatron Cloak, so not going to be able to do too much damage as the wave crashes in. Plus, it is a cannon wave, so only missing 2 CS for Athena as he makes his way over there. Finally, Jin Zhao makes his way back bottom. But with all of these movements from BLG to cover the push pressure out of SMLZ and Kahlua, Rogue Warriors take control over the river, potentially looking to start this Infernal Dragon.
Yeah, they weren't going to be able to do it. BLG has a pretty good defensive stance right now. Of course, using Athena to hold the bottom side tower, and then once Athena finally gets the bottom side tower, they have the rest of the team be able to stop the Rogue Warriors from getting dragged. So even the priority that Rogue Warriors were rewarded, they're not going to be able to get a real objective off that just yet.
Still, though, they are looking, which speaks to the series. We're seeing Rogue Warriors enabling Flawless, hunting for any objectives they can find, any openings that they can find. In the top lane, we're seeing something completely different from the previous game in the series, as nearly, what is that, 13 plus another 12, almost 30 CS ahead for Mouse?
Oh, 100%. And Rogue Warriors might even just change the strategy up. They've been playing towards bottom lane so heavily, they got to realize that Mouse is actually absolutely winning the top lane fight. And sure, even though you can say, well, you know, Klepto, you know, GP is doing quite well for himself, that tower is actually fairly low. So while he's chipping down that tower, they can easily change that strategy, get a roll call, say Flawless, do OMD, move it up to the top side of the map, get a dive on the GP and the tower.
If anything, that was Doinby's signature strategy on Jingdong when he was playing with Clid. Almost every game, they would just roam up to the top half, gank top lane 2 or 3 times, try to break that as the top turret. But we're not seeing that this time. We're seeing Doinby hovering around this mid lane, hovering around the bottom lane. And
here's the thing. They're not necessarily pressured to do anything just yet. Even though the river is kind of contested in terms of vision, SKS is doing a good job at pushing for more wards here. But they still have vision of SKS in doing that. They still have wards that have yet to be cleared. And the reason why they don't necessarily have to do anything is because SMLC is doing a good enough job at pressuring this bottom lane tower, getting a passive CS lead. Top lane's the same thing, so they're not necessarily pressured to make a play. It's actually BLG that's pressured here.
I just realized it's even scarier when RW are going to be making that play. 4 stopwatches from Rogue Warriors. Everyone except for Kahlua. He's starting to get some health under his name, so he's going to be tanky and tough to kill.
That just means that Flawless went to Inspiration Tree secondary. He was able to get the full gold value, of course, magical boots, and the stopwatch. Still 8.2. So he was able to get a lot of damage underneath him, already getting the Warriors and Longsword. So all of that means that, yeah, Kha'Zix is statted up. And if the fight actually happens, like you're mentioning, they have the ability to outplay it. So the team, actually, I would say that the turrets mean nothing at this point. Just because they have enough stopwatches to refer aggro to the next person. You're like, all right, if we're in the right fight, we should look for it because we can stick underneath the tower for as long as it takes.
That being said, BLG were conscientious of the attempted play from Rogue Warriors just a few seconds ago. Blue buff was started immediately on spawn by Athena, and SKS passed over to Athena in the mid lane, so no fights or skirmishes breaking out. BLG still just dragging out this lane phase. All right, Kahlua, round 2.
Get out of here.
Denies the recall again. Still just keeping Jin Zhao and Road in this lane, and we're starting to see SMLZ succeed for it. He's 20 CS ahead of Jin Zhao.
Yep. At the very least, Jin Zhao could say to himself that he has 10 more CS to be able to get his cult. So that's something. That's something he was able to get for himself by sticking in lane for so long. But he's basing right now. He just needs to watch out because Caitlyn finds him basing, then he can look for a base as well and get a TP on it. More damage on the tower. Oh, here we go.
Doinby steps up onto Athena, hits him with the Justice Punch, but After a quick initial trade, Athena's happy to trade it right back. Athena has finished his Abyssal Mask.
Oh, but look at this. This has been the change in strategy we've been trying to allude to. Tower is low enough that they can actually just look to chip onto this. Don't have Galio just
stepping
yet.
forward. They do take a bit of turret aggro, and with SKS and Athena taking Scuttle Crab and potentially shading towards that side of the map, Rogue Warriors just decide to turn around and back away.
So while that's a thing that's happening, love the fact that BLG are still able to call the play out, take pressure away from the bottom side of the map, and at least defend Amazing J when the play was starting to form. So the defense is still there. We're 15 minutes into the game, and no real damage has happened in the bottom lane tower.
Road forced to use the ultimate defensively. There's the dive top you were looking at. The turret is finished off. Flawless at such low health, but Road is trying to fight bottom. Just gives over first blood to SMLZ. Flash Impale finds Killua. He's flung right onto Athena, but Exhaust denies a lot of the damage as Joinby joins the fight. Jin Zhao trying to get in there, pinned against the corner, but finally the wall falls, and Rogue Warriors are allowed to back up.
And a great defensive TP from Doinby. Knows that Killua is going to be able to stay alive, just because he still has the door available to him to nullify the damage coming through from BLG. So suddenly, the play on the bottom side fizzles from BLG, and the top side of the map, you know, Kha'Zix and Vladimir gets the tower.
Not one, but two big wins for Rogue Warriors, taking that first blood and getting it onto SMLZ, not to mention the solo gold from a turret kill. Split between Mouse and Flawless as SMLZ is still feeling it. He thinks he can go for the trade here. Road doesn't have the Cosmic Insight. Dazzle misses. He flashes back, but SMLZ follows up with the headshot. Static Shiv denies this. Peacemaker, not enough to kill him off as SKS joins the fight. There's a teleport coming in, but already SMLZ is dead. Knock up onto SKS. Turned it into a 1-for-1 as Mouse continues to chase with Flawless, locking down yet another. They finally get it. 3 kills to 1.
And the whole team comes through for him. That was an individual call from SMLZ to be able to go for that fight. They had the Static Shiv to look for a fight, and they would be able to win. I mean, the Static Shiv to what Jin Zhao had means they have the skirmish potential, but the gank comes through from BLG to try and answer to that. Good job for Mouse and Doinby to come through and help him out in their time of need.
This is Rogue Warriors playing that strategy. Raz, I feel like we already laid out the blueprint for this. They can play through the top side to break open the map. They can stack 5-man bottom to try to break open Jin Zhao and Road. And off of those advantages, they've taken not 1, but 2 turrets. They've got first blood. They've got first break. They've even got this Infernal Dragon.
Yeah, it's been frustrating for BLG since the, I would say, start of the game when Talia and Skarner hasn't been getting really anything down for themselves. Because look at this fight. So at this point, the TP back from SMLZ, has Static Shiv. Now he's a little bit tilted because he couldn't get this kill even with the Q to catch him out. The shield comes through. But thankfully, TP comes through, Kha'Zix, Galio ulti, even though Caitlyn dies for it, they're still able to get a positive trade-off.
Yeah, huge flash trading, not to mention the follow-up dive onto Jin Zhao to lock down that kill. As so many summoner spells were used by BLG to try to equalize, and they only get 1 single kill on the board for themselves. Now, Killua and SMLZ have swapped themselves back up towards the mid lane. Still seems like they're content to fight over every blue buff that will ever spawn for BLG. Athena will never be allowed to get that, as Dazzle is again sidestepped by the likes of this bottom lane. Athena with a late recall is going to be really far away from taking this one.
Yeah. I mean, at least he's finally able to get it for himself. That's mostly due to the change in priority that these teams are starting to have. Now moving towards towers rather than the blue buff itself. Had they committed more members towards the blue, then they would have gotten it. But especially with the siege comp you have for yourself with the Caitlyn, you should just essentially always be sticking to lanes.
Now with the Essence Reaver finished, Jin Zhao's going to have a much easier time clearing these waves. And with a 1-3-1 set up by Rogue Warriors, they're quickly going to top it back around. Athena bottom, Amazing J top. Meanwhile, Doinby is headed back towards the mid lane as SMLZ, trying to soak as much CS as possible, heads bottom. Right on that blue buff timing. This time, no one taking the Rift Herald in this game 3.
And not a lot of priorities come through top lane. There was just that one window when Flawless was trying to give Mouse a helping hand towards the tower. But for them, they're looking towards helping out SMLZ because the composition really relies around that siege kind of that siege composition for themselves. And since he has the static shiv over Jin Zhao, then that allows him to move from lane to lane as fast as possible. So clearing out bottom side, he's already moving towards mid lane. Jin Zhao can probably stay towards mid, but it's just going to be difficult for the whole of BLG to have a numbers advantage, the ability to protect against the siege that Rogue Warriors have.
That Caitlyn able to fire shots across, set up traps and limit opportunities of entry for BLG. Is Sivir walking weird? Am I the only one that sees that she's taking super tiny steps?
All right, there are a few champions that have that animation bug.
Okay. All right. I just wanted to make sure, because it looks like Jin Zhao is just like a tiny grandma just shuffling around, but still clearing wave after wave. Look at that. The wave crashes in. Road steps very far forward, forced to use the Cosmic Insight to escape.
Yeah, he needs to respect the traps coming out of SMLZ. The moment he walked through that small corridor, it got trapped out, so you have to take a longer way around. So he's like, all right, this is awkward. I made the wrong decision. So, especially since he's not that tanky just yet.
Yeah. Now that the ultimate, that Cosmic Radiance, is on cooldown, this siege becomes a lot more viable. Athena stepping forward to try to clearing out the wave, but Flawless is already on the side for a potential flank. With the trap set up, SKS can only engage by flash ulting. Rogue Warriors chip away a lot of that turret's health, ready for round 2.
I don't like what Rogue Warriors are doing here. They're pulling all members towards this lane when they can actually continuously push wave of Vladimir top lane. They have safety with Galio here. He can use ulti if they ever feel the need to disengage. There's not a lot of ability from BLG to force a fight instantly. So put Mouse in a side lane. They're doing it now, thankfully. In fact, they have Duan in the bottom lane too. So instead of allowing BLG to all form mid to hold the mid lane tower, now they're going to be split up.
That's where you get the really scary AoE from those barrels of Amazing J, from the AoE of Athena as SKS. I'm not quite sure he wants that skirmish with Mouse. 3 full items. Zanya's second is Jin Zhao. With an early spell shield, finds himself getting bullied around. Even Doinby's grouping back up. They split the side lanes, push the wave, and now they're back.
Yeah, it's going to be easier for them now, charging up the taunt and not having GP to help them. Right now, BLG should back away.
Doinby soaks the hits, but the turret is finished off. Flawless leaps in to get the slow. Hemoplague onto SKS. Plus, he's still burning down. Survives the ace in the hole as Rogue Warriors take the turret, aggress forward, and back off.
Now looking for a fight. A little bit too ham. Losing 2 flashes because of it, but they finally get the mid lane turret. So thankfully, within the comms, they recognize, okay, we just need to split each other out. Vladimir top.
Ooh,
bot. Okay, wait a minute.
That didn't work as expected. The heal, the auto, SMLZ. Is he going for another? No, he decides not to. Styles on Jin Zhao with the solo kill.
It's a hard life. It's a hard life for the Sivir. What are you going to do?
Jin Zhao not spell shielding as he walks onto the trap, then spell shielding after. Ooh. Infinity Edge static shiv for SMLZ. Just does so much.
I wonder what he's going to go back to buy off of that. SMLZ is catching a lot of mistakes just based off the mechanics alone. I already hit on earlier, of course, the trap that he placed towards Road, which meant that Road had to use ulti, and they didn't have for it for this fight. But take a look at this. Yeah, you talked about it. Sits on a trap, uses his E. What are you doing?
Flash heals, does everything he can, but SMLZ just says, this time I am better.
Actually brain farted.
He absolutely did. I mean, hey, we all make mistakes, right? It's game 3. These people have already been playing for 2 hours on the stage, and they're still playing up to such a high level, but this is why we have to laud SMLZ, because not only does he play at this high level, he plays late game champions. He has a propensity to drag these series out. Is that why he's so good? He's just so he has more endurance to not make mistakes?
Yeah, I suppose, but if there's a line of traps in front of you, you probably shouldn't be that exhausted to not see the line and traps in front of you.
Spell shield as you walk into it.
That's a little sad.
It certainly is. But hey, this means that a lot more of the map is opening up for Rogue Warriors. They're now taking this second dragon. They've got vision on the bottom side. Still looking at a potential 1-3-1 once the teleports come back up for Mouse and Doinby.
We have it right now. Having full control of mid lane, this ain't gonna stop. SMLZ is gonna stick towards this mid lane for as long as possible. So, if you're BLG, I would love to see Athena go on side lane. He already has the Morellonomicon, so maybe he can kite back and push out Mouse. They just need to force that, just because otherwise they're not gonna have any control of their side lanes. first side lane, and then have Athena roll in with his ulti towards mid lane, that would be a good start to a fight.
Now red buff passed over to Jin Zhao. Still they're holding on to it. Athena level 14, only 2 levels away from that level 3 Weaver's Wall. Not quite there just yet, as Jin Zhao just clearing wave after wave. Happy to do Sivir things. Just clear out minions after minions. He's a full item down behind SMLZ, however.
Yeah, but you talked about the fact that he's able to clear it out now. So the fact that he does finally have the static shift for himself means that the stalling capabilities are actually there for BLG. They have their ulti for Amazing J. Cannon Barrage can stall out a time, kind of an emergency use if they don't want to use it for a team fight, finding one of the towers under siege. You can have Sivir just be a bit of a janitor between bottom lane or any side lane she's being called to. So that's the strategy BLG should look towards until she gets her Infinity Edge. Until that happens, they don't have many openings to look for a fight.
And this is the style of that BLG we're so known for in the past.
Oh, yeah.
Playing for the late game, just farming minions. We're going to look for the late game Hail Mary. We're down. We're not out.
The only person that hasn't been through this experience.
Whoa!
Oh my god.
Flawless. Face checking
second.
into Road, and Athena has to leap away. All right.
Yeah, I don't know about that one.
There he goes. Now Road has his spell shield ready.
All right, at least he's all right. At least he didn't have to flash. Then you can either just smite the next camp or just base. He's going to base right now, just get the HP. So you don't want to have those mistakes. That's one mistake. But we're already talking about the fact that BLG has the ability to stall out the game for as long as they can with those 2 members. Barrels from Amazing J and Athena, of course, having static shift. You don't want that to go any longer. Thankfully, 26 minutes in, they can actually lean towards Baron a little bit more. But those mistakes is what costed, I would say, BLG game 1. Game 3, don't be in that same position.
All about the flawless play as, ooh, SKS dodges the vision just a bit, but still that trap line is there. He's got the Predator, nearly has that flashback up. No Righteous Glory just yet as Mouse steps in and takes a few turret shots. Rogue Warriors perhaps itching for a fight.
Thankfully for Amazing J, he's able to get a few minions underneath himself. 272 CS. It's pretty tanky for himself with the Yomu's Ghostblade. And all of this was just because BLG did a great job holding mid. If they could hold another tower, that's worthwhile.
Well, they're certainly going to have to try here as the wave crashes in, and there goes the wave clear, Athena and Jin Zhao.
They have to base. Look at where the next minion wave is. That's at their inner turret. That's going to take a long time. If they try to hold on, which they're going to apparently, GP can actually hold with the team. So not only was he able to take the bottom lane tower, he's able to come and join the team as a 5-man to hold Rogue Warriors off on the next wave.
Take a look at this. Rogue Warriors shadowing towards that bottom side of the jungle. Thinking of perhaps collapsing on the tier 2 of Mouse as he's pushing that wave all the way in. Well, I say wave. I realize now on my minimap that it is 3 minions. So perhaps they're not going to do that. They're going to do what you said and turn around and back away.
That being said, I wonder if Rogue Warriors also see the top lane wave slow pushing up there with another wave immediately behind it. BLG need to look to try and thin that out immediately. I don't know how they're going to do it. Maybe put up GP up. He's already on the bottom side of the map. Rogue Warriors are already looking to inch towards it. That is a big wave if they actually can utilize it, and that should actually net the tower itself. Thankfully, Talia's actually getting there. Oh!
Instead, they turn towards the Baron. Athena still has his Weaver's Wall and the Cleanse. Just playing in, but Mouse from behind has found SKS. That's the Weaver's Wall, and they pull him out of position. Athena gets pinned against the wall and decides to cancel as that's Doinby intercepting. Flawless is behind Athena. He's on the wrong side of the fight. Flashes over the wall, tries to escape, but dies. Doinby goes low. Amazing J looks to finish it off, but doesn't quite have enough. 2 kills for Rogue Warriors.
That was a sketchy fight. Dazzling off Amazing J. But Rogue Warriors are still able to pick it up. It was sketchy just because Mouse comes in with a flank and gets immediately Skarner ulted. So that was a good pick, technically from BLG, but they couldn't find the damage.
Oh, Jin Zhao flashes into his death.
I think he's lagging.
I am speechless at that attempt. I mean, he certainly tried. Maybe he was just hoping for the crit, but this is Baron being handed over now, along with a kill to Rogue Warriors.
Oh yeah, his frames definitely dropped. So Rogue Warriors get a free kill. It was all because Jin Zhao flashed in. They could have played that a little bit slower. They had the damage to do it. Not anymore if your AD carry decides it's not going to happen. So this is an interesting take from Mouse. Mouse comes in when his team's not necessarily going to be there to follow up. And a great wall from Athena to stop that fight from happening. But Mouse has a lot of ways to stay alive. Even gets the Crimson Rush to increase his HP when he's at 30% HP. So just being able to kill that much time and allow Rogue Warriors to come up, BLG cannot recognize that. They have to respect it at the end of the day. They're not going to get the kill on Mouse. And that of SMLZ is already powering through. Yeah,
still 430 health despite the grievous wounds afflicted to him. 30 minutes into the game, 7 kills to 1. 5,000 gold lead with the Baron buff for another 6 waves. 5 if you really want to be technical. But look at those items. 3 completed for Doinby, 3 full items in a QSS for SMLZ, another 4 items from Mouse in the top lane. Rogue Warriors are accelerating the pace of this game, slowly but surely looking to break down BLG and take this series.
Yeah, they're about 5k gold behind, but they still have so many key items they need to be able to deal with Rogue Warriors. Right now, Jin Zhao needs the ability to chip. Wait a minute.
Oh, Road goes low. Cosmic Radiance doesn't fall fast enough. SMLZ with another stylish kill.
He's just doing so well on his own. And I'm just trying to talk about the ways BLG can find a way into this game, but SMLZ is literally just finding pick after pick. That's the second time he was able to eye Road underneath the tower and take him apart.
Athena's trying to defend top, but Doinby body blocking for the minion wave keeps it alive. Mouse is still working on bottom, so 2 inner turrets fall at about the same time as Jin Zhao with a good spell shield that time is able to keep his mid laner safe. But you've got to wonder about Jin Zhao's mentality after not 1 but 2 massive mistakes in this game. That's going to be a good pull onto Kahlua, but he's the support. Here's the hero's entrance as BLG just turn around and back off.
And that was just a good look for SKS to get Braum. The problem is, Rogue Warriors, not only are they ahead, but that's an incredibly defensive composition with the Galio. Galio's going to be able to help him out. Going full tank too. You're not going to be able to kill him once he drops. So Rogue Warriors can waste a lot of time, make a few mistakes, and get themselves out of it.
32 minutes in, 8,000 gold. All of the outers have been broken. And still BLG struggling to get themselves into this game. The completed Mercurial Scimitar Randuin's on top of the Righteous Glory Abyssal Mask for Doinby, plus a Gargoyle Stone Plate. Hey, fits with the theme of the champion. Guardian Angel now finished off for Flawless, so he can be a bit more reckless with his dives. Even the Rabadon's Death Cap for Mouse. I mean, certainly BLG have the scaling if they can last long enough, but it is going to be so difficult with SMLZ so critical on how he's preying on these mistakes.
Yeah, exactly. One of the biggest things I wanted to see in terms of itemizing, Jin Zhao purchased with the Grievous Wounds that he's able to now apply to Mouse if he's ever able to go for those skirmishes again. But he still needs to find the armor penetration. And then, of course, still needs to find a little bit more lifesteal, just a little bit more damage for his team. So he's looking at full items. Well, right now, Rogue Warriors already have the items necessary to win the game. They just need to look for these fights.
Now the Baron has fallen off, but we're still seeing a 2-3 split. This Flawless is sitting just in between. SMLZ refreshing trap after trap. Doinby so tanky that he can body block for the minions, but the dive happens bottom. They've killed 2 already and are chasing down. Cosmic Radiance stalls it as best it can, but Road goes low and Road goes down. Mouse chases onto Athena and Amazing J, but it's 2 versus 5, Raz. Almost on the flip of a switch, SMLZ decides he wants the kills and doesn't quite get the ace, but he's close enough.
Just leave them alone. They're at their own fountain at this point. You could take the game without having to take their lives. 4 people down on the side of BLG, and it was just the simple go sign that's coming through. Kahlua jumps in, and Galio, an incredibly tanky Galio to boot.
And now they turn on to Amazing J. He tries to cleanse it up, but that is the final ace. Rogue Warriors, 13 kills to 1, are going to close out this series as they look across at BLG and say, you might be second place, but remember, you are second place to us.
And Dom, they just keep getting better and better. That adaptation from Game 2 to Game 3 saw Rogue Warriors' first early game lead. Because they recognize Game 1 and Game 2, we can't allow ourselves to be sleeping that early on. Especially since the strategy that BLG had to just suffocate them early on, that was going on for way too long. So put in a few teleports with the spell books that they've had, prioritize these laning phases. It seemed like a random Caitlyn ban in the first few games, but a game through, it really pays off coming in for SMLZ.
Yeah, you just saw the big smile from Mouse and Amazing J as they shake hands, and Rogue Warriors step up to take a deep bow, now finding themselves at 6-2 in the standings. And as you said, the change up halfway through the series. I feel like we're seeing these players, these teams grow and evolve. Rogue Warriors are just one single game ahead. They took the advantage early on, and it was up to BLG to try to adapt, which they did in Game 2, but couldn't pull off in Game 3.
Yeah. So, of course, BLG hanging their heads low because what was initially a great strategy from them, and it felt like they were starting to evolve as a team surrounding Athena. Really great Zoe play. But you're going up against, on the side of Rogue Warriors, great players.
Mm-hmm.
So SMLZ, even though the composition, really early game centric, great siege, great everything, that spiral downhill was just SMLZ styling on people alone.
Yeah.
Sure, the composition was coming through and they're playing quite well, but it was accelerated by the fact that he was constantly just netting himself free cooldowns. Taric ulti. Taric's life, I suppose. I guess that's a cooldown.
And Jin Zhao's multiple times.
Yeah. They just outplayed them individually and strategically.
Yeah. You have to look at the mentality of BLG at the end of that series. They were making mistakes that, frankly, we don't expect from a team of this caliber. Though that being said, Kahlua wasn't playing nice. He was sidestepping nearly every dazzle. He was stopping recalls every chance he got. Doinby playing unfun Galio, where you just go maximum tank and don't do any damage.
Technically pretty fun for him if he's just dodging without a veil. He was just not taking damage at all from Talia later on because she went towards a Rylai's Crystal Scepter instead of any bit of magic penetration. So I was like, you know what? They can't deal with me. I'm going in.
Yeah, they certainly can't, but now it's up to our analysts to break it down.
Thank you, gentlemen. And game number 3 was quite similar from Rogue Warriors in terms of they focus around SMLZ. This time, they changed the way they did just that.
Yeah, the draft completely shifted between games 2 and 3. Even if we take the first one as well, for Rogue Warriors specifically, they completely changed up how they were going to play it. And amazingly, of course, they got rid of the Karma and Jinx as a duo. They made sure that wasn't going to be down there in the first place. The priority was still SMLZ carrying, as you mentioned. And something that we noticed from them, they banned Caitlyn in game 2, but they first picked it in the third. They come in, they utilize the siege pressure, and I think that's the key word that we take from this, even just before we looked at the draft. It's the fact that there is going to be pressure everywhere, and this draft that we saw from both teams is almost, I'm going to say it's a bit confusing, because there was a lot of smart decisions, but the smart decisions were for specifics and for compositions, not so much for winning the game, for BLG in particular, right? So like a Caitlyn first pick from Rogue Warriors, very good at controlling the lane. Their opposing lane 2v2 was a Sivir and a Taric, and that's not exactly good at dealing with Caitlyn, right? But Taric's good against Braum. Taric's good against Vladimir when they get to team fighting. So I do wonder if BLG were like, well, we need to pick a really good team composition. We're going to late game anyway. That's where they want to go. Let's just have a better comp. And then completely forewent the fact that they need to have a laning phase and they need to exist somewhere because they just lost every lane.
Well, they had the Skarner as well as the gameplay again, which they used in game number 2 with the Sivir to push people in to try and get those tower dives going. This time they had the Talia as well. Talia made a couple of trips down into the bottom lane, but was not able to turn the outcome of the game because Galio was there.
Exactly,
they were able to get Vladimir down there as well, and every single time Rogue Warriors were able to out-teamfight BLG, which is what they're meant to be good at.
And we mentioned BLG's composition and the negatives about it. Perhaps there is a positive on the side of Rogue Warriors that we should be highlighting, and I do think Galio is the big one that you have to look at the most, right? It's not a Karma, but Doinby wants to impact side lanes. The best champion to do that when you have a Vladimir top lane, when you don't have a tank in the composition, is always going to be the Galio. You make tanks out of people with your ultimate, and you are one that deals damage yourself. And he built full tank, fully acknowledging, of course, that that is the role that Doinby was going to be playing in this game, and executes on it immaculately just by staying alive, equalizing the laning phase, and then going and contributing to the rest of the game, ensuring that there was no kind of dive available for the Caitlyn as she continued to pressure.
And we've seen Doinby do this before, not just on champions like Galio or Karma, or even on his Lulu, which he's brought out a couple times. But he's picked up Rise before, gone full tank builds. He's gotten a lot of flack from the community about it as well, but he wins games with it, and he's really set back into the supporting role, trying to protect SMLZ. We take a look at Bilibili Gaming, where they're meant to be known for these late game team fights, building up from the mid game team fights and drafts around team compositions itself. But even the team fights they had in this game, like the one we saw around Red Buff before they moved towards Baron Buff, they weren't able to execute it properly to pick up the victories in those team fights.
Yeah, and that's the one big fight of the game that you will see between these teams until the game was all but over. And of course, Mouse is the person who was trying to go in, trying to get a flank. They were looking at baiting around the Baron, and this was the first real proactive and major move that Rogue Warriors took in this third game to try and accelerate the game any further. But ultimately, they were far enough ahead at that point to be able to play recklessly with the fight. For Mouse to get Skarner ultimate and still have a stopwatch, still have the ultimate, be tanky enough with the Galio ult in specifically as well, and survive the team fight, come out ahead and better for it. And no matter how well BLG played, and Amazing J did actually play the fight well, they did get the Skarner ultimate off onto the correct person. None of it meant enough.
Yeah, it did not. And SMLZ is able to pick up an MVP performance on his Caitlyn in game number 3. He's the man that the team works around time and time again. We harp on this every single time, but there's a reason why. He's really good in the bottom lane.
Yeah, both victories from Rogue Warriors saw SMLZ getting your man of the match. He did over 40% of the damage every single time, and he's involved in pretty much all of the kills. And Rogue Warriors revolves around SMLZ, not just him doing the damage, but enabling him to do that as a full compositional decision. He's not just hard carrying, they're making him hard carry. They're setting him up to hard carry, and his job's actually a little bit easier.
Yeah, it certainly is when they do set up around him and make sure he's the focus of the team. However, I'm really curious to see if other teams in the LPL are going to be able to tear him apart, tear Rogue Warriors apart, I should say, because if they're going to keep going back to this composition, this one strategy, eventually there's going to be a way to pick on SMLZ and shut him down.
We saw it in the second game, right? If they continue to draft inconsistently or very focused in how they're drafting, then there are ways to beat them around. The third game, however, by going for a Caitlyn, going for lane dominance, and establishing themselves and slowly winning the game, changing the strategy and showing another page in their strategy book, I honestly think does do wonders for Rogue Warriors and says that it's a lot harder to take this team down than you would otherwise think.
Well, hopefully they have a lot more of those similar strategies, because it is a lot of fun to watch Rogue Warriors whenever they try to protect SMLZ. With that, they proceed to 6-2 in their conference. We're going to go into a break. We'll be back with the second set of the night. Don't go anywhere.